Hey guys, thanks for checking in on the NFN Radio News Podcast, brought to you by NotFakeNews.biz. I'm Bob Gaddy, editor and publisher of Not Fake News. Dave and Linda Fleischer are well underway on their journey of hope in memory of their daughter Sarah, who passed away in 2018 from a horrible cancer, cholangiocarcinoma. In this episode, Dave reports in from South Dakota after visiting several western states, 3 towns called Hope, and several cholangiocarcinoma patients and caregivers and families. Altogether, plans call for the trip to include stops in 18 towns named Hope all across the country. A major goal of the trip, which will take Dave to all 48 contiguous states, is to help raise money to support research into this disease, and during which they hope to spread awareness and bring hope to patients, caregivers, and others along the way. Dave reports that in the first week of the journey, $20,000 has been raised, an astonishing amount, as the original goal for the entire trip was $15,000. That's pretty cool, Dave says. The road trip in a car with a specially designed wrap promoting cholangiocarcinoma awareness will include stops at various hospitals and healthcare institutions that specialize in research and treatment of the disease, and get-togethers with other patients, caregivers, and healthcare providers who were important in Sarah's life. This coming week, Dave and Linda will visit the Mayo Clinic. Cholangiocarcinoma starts in the bile duct and is an incredibly deadly cancer. It afflicts about 8,000 people in the United States each year. Most of its victims are 65 or older, but Sarah was only 31 when she was diagnosed. She passed away at age 35. Linda will be flying home next Sunday after 10 days on the road with Dave, and then he'll be on his own. Linda needs to go home to take care of Sarah's little boy. But Dave will have many well-wishers and supporters with him as he meets them along the way. The journey is scheduled to end June 29 or July 1, depending on circumstances. The trip is being supported by the Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation, which has made the specially designed Honda SUV available for the journey. Sponsors are Insight, Ken Garff Honda, QED Therapeutics, Servier, Taiho Oncology, Welch's Fruit Snacks, and Zymeworks. And now let's talk with Dave Fleischer as he reports in after his first week on the journey of hope. Welcome, Dave. I'm really happy that you're with us for episode 2 of your journey of hope. How's it going?
It's going really well. However, one of the things I often do is I schedule more than I should for a given day. And since we're on a rather tight schedule, it's been a little challenging.
So have you been missing appointments?
No,
or have you been?
No. The latest I've been is 4 minutes.
Well, geez. I mean, what are you complaining about? That's pretty good.
Well, there's the peripheral things though that you would like to do if you had the opportunity. I like to stop and read historical markers.
Okay.
And I like kitschy things. Like I had to bypass the world's largest bison today.
You couldn't stop and check it out, right?
No, because I spent too much time at the world's largest Holstein cow.
So wait a minute now. First of all, let's tell everyone where you are.
Right now we are in Watertown, South Dakota.
Okay. And so you traveled to there from where?
This morning we started our day in, I have to look at a map. I can't remember.
You can't even remember.
It was,
Well,
it was in Dickinson. It was Dickinson, North Dakota.
All right. So you started out last Thursday,
Yeah.
a week ago today,
Yes.
and so where have you been? And tell us some of the highlights of what you've done during that period.
Okay. We started in Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah area. We were in Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Idaho again, Montana, North Dakota, and now South Dakota. So as of today, we've driven 3,025 miles. We've visited three towns of hope. We have visited with several patients and caregivers, and we have visited the Hutch Cancer Center in Seattle, Washington, to meet four brilliant research oncologists.
Okay, let's talk about some of the highlights then. First, the uh, the visits with the patients and people involved with.
Yes. So the first two patients we met with were in Oregon,
Mhm.
in the Albany, Oregon area, and Happy Valley, Oregon,
Okay.
which is pretty close to Portland. And then we met with two others yesterday in Montana. So those are powerful moments. These are patients and caregivers that have their own stories to tell, let alone what we're doing with, meeting people that were important to our daughter, Sarah. So they like to talk about Sarah as we do, but they have their own story to tell of their own challenges that they've gone through, up to and including one that's been a survivor now for 11 and a half years, which is very rare.
Yeah, you told me the last time we talked that 5 years was the outside expectation.
Yes, yes. And the, the one person with 11 years, 11 plus years, actually was fortunate enough to get into a clinical trial years ago at the National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, and that person has to travel from Billings, Montana, to Bethesda for treatments.
Oh my! Wow.
Uh, However, it's worth it
Yeah.
because she has six children, and that story is an incredible story. And she's actually now a full time employee of the Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation as an advocate.
Wow. I saw a video that you guys did. The young woman was, I think, in the front seat next to you. Is that her?
Yes,
That was her.
that's
Okay.
yes,
So
yeah,
she was an 11 and a half year survivor from the time that she was diagnosed.
yes,
Wow. She seems to be doing well.
yes.
Yeah.
There are those stories, and that's what's great because it does give other people hope that with a proper treatment, good things can happen. And she is a testament to that.
What would you say some of the most heartfelt moments have been since you began on this journey?
Hearing great things about our daughter,
Okay.
and that's a selfish point of view. um,
Yeah.
but I would say, also hearing of these other folks that we've met that
Mhm.
um, have persevered for a number of years,
Mhm.
because there's a list of patients that we would have liked to have visited, but they're no longer with us. So the folks that we've met with so far, they've got good stories to tell, even though they're still going through the challenge. As an example, next week I was to meet with somebody in in Wisconsin, and she passed away this past week.
Oh,
So I'm going to meet with her daughter because her daughter still wants to, have that opportunity to meet and tell the story.
wow.
So that's the heartfelt part.
It also has to be the hard part.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, are there any little stories you can share with us about some of your conversations?
Sure. Um, you know, one of the things that we heard was that somebody said because of their faith, they weren't afraid of dying, but they were scared to death of dying and leaving their children behind. And I think that puts a fight into people. And um,
Right.
if you have that, I think that
Uh-huh.
emotionally means a lot. Uh, Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I've got this terrible diagnosis,
Uh,
there's nothing I can do, I'm going to quit.
right.
And we haven't heard that at all. So the people that we've engaged with
Right.
um, have been fighting, whether
Okay.
it's for their children, for their spouses, for their family, just for themselves. It's it's a fight, and that's why they're called warriors.
What have these conversations meant to you and your wife, Linda?
Well, we've been told by, even if it wasn't from the patient directly, by family members that we've also met, that they're very thankful that we came to visit with them. It means a lot to them to know that others care, because what you don't want to have somebody believe is they're fighting alone. So if there are a number of signs and medals and things that would say no one fights alone, and when you're doing this and there's an outreach, people it's
Yeah.
people see it,
Yeah.
and it means a lot.
So I imagine it's touched you and Linda deeply to your soul.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, no
Yeah.
question.
Now, talk a little bit about the towns called Hope that you went to visit. What did you do there? Who did you talk to? How were you received?
uh,
All that. All
yeah,
that.
we've been to three towns named Hope.
Yeah.
The first one was rather interesting because it's on a beautiful place outside of Tacoma, Washington, called Fox Island. So it's Hope/Fox Island.
Okay.
And we were at one of the things I've done is go to the local post office first. That's because
Mhm.
that's where people are in smaller towns.
Okay.
Well, the post office has been closed in most of the locations I've gone to, in two out of three. So then you just have to engage people as you can.
Mhm.
And um, so at Hope, Fox Island, people didn't realize the neighborhood was called Hope.
Really?
Yeah, they and I said, well, I have it on Google Maps. It exists. And well, they said, well, there is a church up in the hill that has the sign that's lit up at night. So if you stay here for about 10 more hours, you'll see it light up, and it says Hope on it. And I said, well, that's what this is about. And they said, oh, well, we had no idea. So that was kind of interesting.
They lived in hope, but they didn't know it.
Yeah. So, and
No,
then when
no hope for them, I'll tell you.
well, so then it got better the next day when we went to Hope, Idaho, or
Okay.
2 days later in Hope, Idaho,
Uh-huh.
because we went to the post office. We met people there,
Okay.
and I asked them, what does it mean to live in a town named Hope? And a great answer I heard from the first person was, Hope is the closest place to heaven on earth.
Oh, wow.
Because if you see this, um, in the mountains of Idaho, and the this old glacial lake that's there. That's huge, and you hear the stories of elk in the neighborhood, and things like that. And you're standing there looking at the visual. You go, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Uh, and one of the people that we talked to, I ask everybody, are you a native of this area? And generally, at least half the people aren't. They've been attracted from some other part of the country.
Mhm.
And that's kind of neat to hear their story. How did you end up here?
Sure.
And they find it, like Hope, Idaho, very relaxing. I will tell you, though, that, I think I might have mentioned previously that I had heard that there was Hope, there was East Hope, and then there was Beyond Hope. Well, we found Beyond Hope. It's and it's in a gorgeous setting, and you go, yeah, I get it. So, and the people there were very friendly too.
So you just go up to people and say, "Hey, I'm Dave, and this is Linda, and we're here to see what it's like."
We're here, yeah. And so this afternoon we were in Hope, North Dakota, and went to the post office at about 2:00 in the afternoon, and it's closed. So Mixed Grocery is across the street. So we went into Mixed Grocery, not knowing what we were going to find. And there were about 6 or 7 folks in there at a table having their afternoon coffee and their chat. It's a daily meetup for these folks.
Okay.
And I just walked up and started to talk. And they said, "Oh, that's your car outside?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And so the car has introduced us in several places because it does say Journey of Hope on it. It's wrapped.
Yeah.
And that has been an entree, if you will, to the conversation.
Yeah, you said you thought that would happen, and you're seeing that it is happening.
Yes, we were at another place days ago in Oregon at the Oasis Cafe, and we overheard people at the table 2 tables away from us talking about, "What's that car outside? What do you think? Whose is that?" And I got up from our table and said, "Would you like to know more about it?" And here we go. and so yes, it has worked, and people have been very receptive to this point, because generally most adults know somebody in their life that has been affected by cancer. And when you start talking about genetic testing and why it's so important, they'll listen. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we'll continue our conversation about the Journey of Hope with Dave Fleischer.
And so after your first week of doing this, do you feel like it's meeting the expectations that you had?
Oh, it's exceeded. It's exceeded. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Now you've been driving around. Well, you said 3,000 plus miles. I think you said, right?
Yeah. Yes. We're 20%. We're 20% of the trip.
20%. Well. So you've driven over 3,000 miles, and you've gone through several states, all in the West. What interesting things have you seen? Have you seen the biggest Holstein cow in the world?
Any cow that's 38 feet high and 50 feet long and 12,000 pounds, you have to stop to see it, because you could.
Oh, it's not a real cow.
Oh no, but I don't know. I think the people in that area that call this Salem Sioux would disagree with you.
Where did you find this massive monster? Massive
the
monster.
name of the town escapes me, but it's Salem Sioux is the name of the cow.
Okay, what state?
This was in North Dakota. North Dakota. I have to look at a map to because look,
he's been in so many states. He has to check his notes. He has to look at his map.
That's what I'm looking for.
All right, so he's showing us this big map. Oh my God, look at that! He's actually using a regular map too. He's not one of these digital guys or anything. He's using a regular map.
Well, we're doing GPS, but to me, a GPS gives you direction, gets you somewhere, but a map gives you context. Right. That's the way I always look at it.
Sure. And you're going to want to have this map forever and ever and ever.
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And I,
Yeah, you'll probably frame it.
at the end of each day, I'm, routing it and then logging information in the book that we have. I,
Right, right, right. Are you keeping a diary?
well, I'm actually, yes, yes, by day. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
A written diary?
yes. And the only thing that we're putting in is what other people we would want to share. Some of my own personal notes are in a different place.
A different place, not in your diary. So are you going to write a book about this at the end? I bet you will.
Uh, I, uh,
You should.
I should, I should.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make any promises though.
It should be called Journey of Hope. Yeah. It would be an easy book
Yeah.
to write.
I,
If you're
I,
doing it, if you're keeping a diary, there's the book. I mean, it wouldn't be hard.
yeah. The night before we started the trip, we were in the Salt Lake City area, and somebody sent me a hour long video that was done of our daughter Sarah about 4 years ago that I had never seen, and it was an hour long bit of raw footage that was being done for a pharmaceutical company. I didn't know that, and Linda and I watched this, um, and in that video, Sarah kept talking about she was on a journey through her through her 4 years. This video was done about 4 months before she passed, and she was talking about being on this journey and then providing hope to other people. And I had never seen this video before. Linda had seen part of it, but she didn't know how it may have been used after it was done. And what blew me away was, here's Sarah, like we're talking to her because it was raw footage. So it was this interview that was going on. And she's talking about her own personal journeys that she was on, and then the hope that she wanted to be giving to others. And I sat there and I said, oh my gosh, this is the passing of the torch from her to me. And so all of a sudden, the trip took on even more dimension. And I said to Linda, I said, this is way more than a coincidence
Really?
that this is going like this.
Sure.
And so that really helped set the pace for day
Oh
one.
man. What kind of emotions did you feel when you saw that?
Uh, well, with the shedding of some tears, a lot of heart tugging and pride, a lot of pride.
I'm
Because
sure.
she knew by that time what the progression of the cancer had done and all the things that had been tried to prolong her life. And at that point, she either had already made the decision to go for quality of life versus quantity, or she was about a month from that decision. And to see her smiling and joking with
Oh,
the interviewer was
wow.
was stunning.
That's amazing. That is really amazing. I don't know how you sat through it actually. I really don't.
Well, I knew it was an hour long, and I said, I can't wait. To myself, I can't wait to see what else is here because it was so much fun just to
Wow.
watch her, you know,
Wow.
and be
Wow.
so positive.
So where are you off to next?
Well, tomorrow because I have to get to 48 states, um,
Right?
we will be going from South Dakota into Iowa,
Okay.
and then we have an appointment for a meetup at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
And the Mayo Clinic is, as a lot of people might know, is one of the best hospitals in the whole United
Right.
States. And so we're going to be able to have the opportunity to meet some doctors there and to give them thanks for what they're doing as the work that they're carrying on.
That's excellent.
And we're going to go to Hope, Minnesota as well.
Okay. All right. So, well, that's great. I'm glad you're having such a successful trip. Before I let you go, before we started recording this, you told me that there was one site that you missed seeing because you spent too much time with the giant cow. What was that?
That was the giant bison. It's the world's tallest bison. And I saw it from afar, but we didn't get off the highway. There was the world's largest sandhill crane is also in North Dakota.
Well, you're seeing all the sights. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and from a distance, we saw what's actually the tallest structure in the Western Hemisphere, which is a radio tower in North Dakota that's over 2,000 feet high.
Wow.
But we saw that from like 20 miles away. So I said, okay, I saw it. I can check it off the list.
You check it off your list. Oh, were there any other amazing sights that you've seen so far?
Well, I have to tell you, yes. Each state has something to offer. And when you go through the Cascade Range in Oregon or Washington and have the opportunity to see some of the great mountains that are there, like as an example, if you go to Bend, Oregon, where we were, Bend is a beautiful place. And then you go up to the northwest to a town called Sisters. And there are 3 mountains outside of Sisters, and these are all volcanic mountains. But as the pioneers called these 3 mountains, Faith, Hope, and Charity. And I didn't know that till we got to Sisters.
Wow.
And then since we're on this cross country trip, you can't go to the west without going to the ocean. So we drove to Newport, Oregon, and because lighthouses are a symbol of hope. So we got to Newport. It was gorgeous. The Pacific was gorgeous. And we were there for less than 2 minutes and had to get back in the car and start heading to the Portland area. So
what a shame.
Yes. Yeah. It's that was bad planning on my part. But and then when you stand there in Newport, Oregon on US 20, and only people that like maps and all this kind of road trip stuff would appreciate this. You see a sign on US 20 in Newport, Oregon that says Boston, 3,365 miles from, because it's the longest road in America. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to be in Boston on June 2nd. And that's a long way, so.
That is a long way. So you've got a few more days that Linda will be with you, and then she's going to head out, right?
Yes. Yeah. Sunday morning, she'll be leaving from Chicago and heading back home for responsibility with my daughter Sarah's son, Austin, because we do childcare every other week in the morning. So there's obligation there.
So you will be carrying on alone then? You'll be by yourself in the car?
Yeah, 30 days.
Wow. Okay, well, you know what? You can always give me a call if you just want to talk. I'm sure you got plenty of people to talk to, though.
I also have to tell you, Bob, that this morning when we left from Dickinson, it was 35 degrees and snowing.
Oh man.
I didn't count on that as far as the trip. And then maybe some other time I'll tell you about HIJACKED, Montana, and the place we visited yesterday that actually 100 years ago in Montana, 1923, there was a murder in 1921, and then the convicted killers were hung in what Montana had as traveling gallows.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. So I got to read the newspaper article about that, and it's that kind of stuff that to me says I got to go back here someday and follow up on this.
Traveling gallows.
Yeah.
I thought it was tough here in South Carolina where they're bringing back the electric chair and giving condemned people the option of either the electric chair or a firing squad.
and and while we're
In
talking
Montana, they got traveling gallows, man. We'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
Well,
So the restaurant that we had lunch at yesterday at one point was a courthouse and a jail.
wow.
And yeah. And another thing that's interesting is, since we've now been in 7 states, is to see the difference of the way, now that we're coming out of COVID, restrictions and everything, to see how different states handle it. And you just cross a border and you see, so that's been kind of interesting to see how that's all playing out. But everybody wants to open up and do the best they can, but it's very different in each state.
Are you finding that the politics of the states have anything to do with that?
No question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
And so it's pretty, even if you didn't know anything about this, you could just cross a border and you can see the differences.
Like what? Tell me what.
Well, just about the whether you need a mask, whether you don't,
Right.
and those states that are now saying, well, and it's not even within certain states, just within certain locations, that you'd see, if you're fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask.
Right.
I've only seen that sign once so far, because in some places there's no choice. You either wear it or they haven't for several months.
Right. Are you finding? So, what is your habit? Do you follow the local, guidelines, or do you just wear a mask, or what?
Follow the local guidelines. So we have special cholangiocarcinoma Foundation masks that show the logo.
Oh, cool.
So I'm actually proud to wear this.
Sure, absolutely.
Because people say, "What's that mask about?" And that's an opportunity to start telling a story.
You are a marketer and a half, man. You always were, right?
Well, I have to tell you one other story. Today, I'm the more outspoken of the two between Linda and myself.
Right.
And I was talking to somebody in a restaurant, and Linda disappeared for a while, and she came back. There had been a table of about 10 people, probably our age. And she said to herself, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to start talking to these people, and I'm going to ask if I can do a video with them. And so she did. They were very open. They made cash donations to the fundraiser. And I said, I now officially deputize you as an ambassador, so that I don't have to do all this myself. And
that's great.
So I got her on, lock, stock, and barrel.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, well, it's good that she's with you, and I know you're going to be lonely after she's gone. 30 days by yourself.
Well,
driving.
She has been very helpful, because we've been doing video each day, and I'm going to have to do that myself. And so that means I'm going to have to stop the car, get out to do all that. Right. And so my schedule is going to be turned upside down, because I'm going to have to be doing that instead of her. I didn't account for that very well.
Okay, so we'll catch up with you again next week and find out what your adventures have been for this week coming up. Be great.
Looking forward to it.
Well, thank you, Dave Fleischer. We wish you Godspeed on your journey of hope, and we encourage everyone who can to donate. You can do that by simply texting the phrase Journey of Hope to 41444 or visit cholangiocarcinoma.org. Dave will be calling in to NFN Radio News each week from his trip, and we plan updated reports to help keep everyone abreast of his adventures. We plan to stream our next episode next Friday, June 4th, so watch for that. We'll take a short break here, and then I'll be back with some closing remarks. Hey, thanks guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you'll come back on a regular basis. Longtime listeners know that we provide narrations of commentary published every day on notfakenews.biz. But we've expanded our offering to include newsmaker interviews, and we're going beyond the world of politics for those, presenting guests and topics that I hope you find interesting and enlightening, like this one with Dave Fleischer. So that's just another reason for you to follow NFN Radio News. You don't want to miss an episode, and you never know who'll be showing up. So check out notfakenews.biz too, where you'll find new material just about every day by some excellent writers with perspectives on a whole range of topics. You can sign up as a member at notfakenews.biz. And of course, it's all free. Also, let your friends know about this podcast and about notfakenews.biz. Our goal is to be informative and entertaining as we comment on the latest developments in the news with just a little lean to the left. Now, this is Bob Gaddy signing off for NFN Radio News and notfakenews.biz.